So Arsenal and Aston Villa have shortlisted Gibbs-White for this summer's transfer window. Welcome to your Forest transfer news. Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome to your latest Forest transfer news. Coming up, we'll talk about these so-called links for Arsenal to Gibbs-White and Aston Villa as well for Forest number 10. We'll talk about the realism of it, where it's sourced from, and is it going to happen? So strap yourselves in, make sure you've done the usual, likes and clicks and follows and what have you, and check out OK Jerseys for your shirts. You can get your World Cup ones for 15 quid with 8% off if you use code FFTV. Let's jump into this and let's get talking about Morgan Gibbs-White. So it's starting to feel a bit deja vu. Like we saw this last summer, we saw Spurs, there was hints of Villa being interested last year as well. We saw the whole we always win with Marinakis, Gibbs-White signing a new contract. But the feeling at the time then from a lot of the fan base was that we probably bought ourselves another year with Gibbs-White. And now with Gibbs-White probably having his best season, and for me improving the deficiencies in his game that I would have criticised him for with things like the flicks and the tricks and the finishing. He's cut out a lot of those flicks and the tricks, and especially in the second half of the season has been banging in the goals, 15 in the Premier League, which is ridiculously good for the position he plays. And now there is a lot of hype around him, especially with Tuchel not taking him to the England camp for the World Cup. Gibbs-White now is on a lot of people's agendas. But how much truth is behind this? I'd say not a lot, because one is coming from the Sun. So let's debunk that straight away. The Sun, my God, man, some of the crap they come out with. But let me just run you through the narrative here. Arsenal are doing their recruitment through Arteta right now. Arteta's in control because Arteta is now untouchable because he's won the league. He wants Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa. Aston Villa are looking at north of 100 million. Apparently this transfer window, everyone's worth over 100 million, which is fine for us if people are going to come in for Anderson. So for them to get Rodgers, they believe it's going to be a complicated deal. And if they can't get Rodgers through, then they want to fall back onto their second option, which would be Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, if you ask me, I actually think Gibbs-White's had a better season than Morgan Rogers in terms of performances on the pitch. So I don't know why people would put Morgan Rogers ahead of Gibbs-White based on form. Now, if that deal wasn't to go through, then according to The Sun, this amazingly sourced place, that they would then turn their attention to Gibbs-White because they believe they could get him cheaper than Morgan Rogers. Let's just go with this premise. Okay, Gibbs-White last summer was worth more than £60 million. The only reason why he was being touted or the whole Spurs thing happened at £60 million was because of the secret release clause. Okay, his valuation for Forest is higher than that anyway. So if Arsenal think they're going to pick him up for £60 million, one, that clause has been removed from his contract anyway. There's no release clause now. And secondly, he's had a better season than he did in the last 2 seasons combined. Therefore, naturally, his price is going to go up. On top of that as well, Forest have put him on a bumper wage. Reports say 150k, I think it was, if I remember back to last summer. So he's earning big bucks. So any team that wants to come in is going to have to match his salary expectations. But more so than that, they're going to have to match Forest's valuation of him. Now, where do Forest value Gibbs-White? The answer is, I don't really know, man. It's up to Marinakis. But I can tell you for sure it won't be £60 million. It will be, 80 minimum, and then add English tax, add homegrown tax, add the season he's had, the hype that's surrounding him, the fact that he's a leader now on the pitch. There's so much to add. You're probably getting close to that £100 million mark anyway. Now, what makes this story even funnier is that if Arsenal are then able to get Morgan Rogers, let's just say they do a deal for £100 million, right? Then Villa will want to target Gibbs-White as the replacement for Morgan Rogers for Villa. Now, I like Villa. I got no beef. Well, I have beef with them for keeping Spurs up. But outside of that, Villa, I don't think, and I mean this respectfully, don't have the pull to get Gibbs-White out of Forest to Aston Villa. Yes, they've got Champions League football now, but I don't even know where they are financially, right? We've seen for the last couple of years, Villa have been fined by UEFA because they were like 96% when it came to the wages and everything else like that to turnover. So Villa tight on finances unless it's improved over the last year, which maybe it has because they've now got Champions League football and everything else. But besides all of that, Gibbs-White going from Forest to Villa, I don't think he'd be that interested in it, if I'm being honest with you. How about this? I don't think Gibbs-White wants to leave Forest full stop. I think he's very settled at Forest. He's very settled with his family life. He's very settled with his role on the pitch. We've seen him under Pereira kicking on to like these excellent levels that he did at the end of last season. So I would be extremely surprised if Gibbs-White were to leave Forest this summer. Okay, it would take an offer that I think Marinakis would deem fit enough for Gibbs-White. And I honestly think Marinakis would value him somewhere just south or just around the £100 million mark. Because, again, Forest are doing this thing where they're benchmarking players. So they've benchmarked Elliot Anderson against the likes of Caicedo, against the like of Declan Rice. And that's why they've come up with the 115 price tag for Anderson. You could then argue Forest could do the same for Gibbs-White. You could look at 10s or players that play out on the left-hand side. You could use Grealish as an example. You know, he went to Man City all those years ago for £100 million. So Villa will know all about £100 million price tags. So Forest could use that as a potential benchmark if they wanted to as well. So this is where the beauty of this transfer window is, that differs from a transfer window maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. Most Premier League clubs are not going to be in positions where they have to sell their kind of prize jewels, their assets, to comply with PSR now, because most Premier League clubs are the richest clubs now in the world because of the prize money that's there, the sponsorship deals that are there in the Premier League, and the amount of eyes that are on the Premier League. And therefore, clubs are now only in a position to sell if a player wants to leave, or they need to put together a bit more of a war chest to go and buy some other players who are then in turn going to be overinflated in their price tags if they're getting them from the Premier League, because Premier League teams aren't under that much pressure to sell. So this is why we're seeing this overinflation in the pricing market. Now, realistically, would I look at an Anderson or a Gibbs-White and say, yeah, they're a £115 million player? No. But when I do it relative to the market that we're in, yes, it is. It's like, let me give you an example. For those of you that live in England, if I was to buy a flat, let's just say in, I don't know, let me think of a place, Leicester or Birmingham. That's a 2-bedroom flat. I could probably pick that up for, let's just pick a figure out, 100 grand. That very same flat, if I was to move that exactly the size it is and put it in London, put it near Edgware Road or Marble Arch or Mayfair or whatever, that goes into stratospheric levels in terms of cost. It would be into the millions, right? So it's about the market you're in, where the market is. The Premier League is the London of the football market. So any players coming out from there are going to be expensive just by the nature of the market. So I don't think these players are worth what they are, but I do in terms of the current market. So if Arsenal think, and if there's any truth in this report, which again, I'll say I don't believe there is, that they're going to can't get Rodgers because it's too expensive or the deal can't be done. So they want to go to Gibbs-White thinking they're going to get a better deal or a cheaper deal than on Rodgers. I'd remind them to go and watch the videos we did back in the summer of last year. How did that work out for Spurs? Which is what I would say. And again, the valuation would need to be met by Forest. You'd have to have a willingness from Gibbs-White to leave. Gibbs-White going from Forest to Arsenal, yeah, I could see that interesting him. Gibbs-White from Forest to Villa, I'm not so convinced. Okay, so let's see how this plays out. I'm giving it no credence because my gut feeling is that Gibbs-White will still be at Forest, subject to an outlandish offer coming through. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he signs a new contract with Forest, extending it further. But get your thoughts in. Again, understand, I'm bringing you the reports now, giving you my opinion on it, and then letting you guys have your opinion on it in the comments and so forth. This one for me just feels like it's filling column inches. Make sure you've liked, make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you on the next one. Come on, you Reds.